regional center. The regional center is a nonprofit corporation. It is not a state agency. Sometimes you hear them called quasi-state agencies. There's nothing quasi about it. They are indeed nonprofit agencies. The glitch is that in most cases, 100% or very near 100% of their money comes from this thing called the contract with the Department of Developmental Services. So there's a lot of people get confused and think they're all one, it's the same one. It was by design that the people who built this system made them nonprofits. Now, there are days when I hate that concept. I'll be absolutely honest with you. Those are the days when I want to stomp on somebody. But the fact is, the idea behind it was that they would be responsible to the people they serve, the families, the consumers. And I apologize if the word consumer offends anyone. I can't find the right word to talk about this group of people. I can't find it. I'm still searching. But the people who are served, their families, and through a board that's of the peers of those families. Now, you know, there's tons of criticism out there. You only have to read the B a couple times. Thank God poor Alta got off the hook. It used to be the target. We used to always say, boy, if Alta just wasn't in Sacramento, they wouldn't be in the paper. But you can see Inland Regional Center now is in the paper. So they made it to the Sacramento paper, so it's a big deal. But the fact is they were by design the way they're set up. Is it the right design when you're running a $4 billion industry? I don't know. Does it work to have, and this is with no disrespect, moms and dads being board members of a multi-million-dollar corporation? That's a hard one. It's very hard. I think philosophically it's still the right thing. I think we may have to admit that there's some other types of folks in the room to help the corporation be a good, solid corporation. That's what's getting people like Inland in trouble. It's not about their services. That's not what's in the paper. It's about their bad decisions about building and when. You know, and the answer at the hearing was, well, I guess we made some bad decisions. Yeah. Probably a real estate person would have told you that was going to be a really bad decision from the onset. So there may need to be some adjustments there. Most regional centers, even if they don't have people on their boards that bring other perspectives, because the boards are set. Their membership is, you know, supposed to be a majority of family members and consumers. Bring in other people to give them advice, give their boards advice. And they do, because you're running a big business. This is, you know, it's like who gets to park in the parking lot is business in this town. At least it is in ours. They towed away 3 people the other day, and I'm going, I just thought. That I don't have to pay for. That's interesting. Be accessible to every family in need of regional center services. This is very hard. You know, we used to do this, go out and find people. In school, they still call them, I think, child find. I think that we found out that even with reaching out, most people, until they have a need, don't know a system exists. I used to relate it to the new motor vehicles board, which is the liminal law about cars. It was on the floor above me in an office for a long time, and I'd say to people, oh yeah, what's the new motor vehicles board, blah, 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 blah. And they say, who cares? I say, well, when you buy that lemon, like I did, you'll care. But the problem is that, you know, people say, oh, we should go out and do PR and stuff. PR to who? If we need to talk to somebody, we need to talk to doctors so they quit telling people to institutionalize their babies before they know that there's another system. And nurses and folks that are out there that have first contact with these families who are being faced with this horrible situation of, oh my God, something's wrong, what do I do? Who do I turn to? The public, unless you have a reason, you're not going to be in touch with this system. I'm not in touch with, you know, several other systems because I don't have a reason to be. So I laugh a little bit about PR and telling regional centers to go out and do it. 7% of your growth tells us that people are still coming into the system, and that's unfortunate, because that means our prevention efforts aren't as good as they need to be. We should have been able to bring that down, and it's still growing. Reflect a commitment to the delivery of direct service coordination and services and supports. This is the reason why there are service coordinators. This is the commitment. Some people say, well, I don't see mine for 3 years. I don't see them for, blah, blah, blah. They're, everybody's leaving. Yeah, people are leaving. That's true. New people who come in, those of you who have hired younger staff, congratulations. Some of us need to retire. But know that there's a different type of person out there now. Their motivations about jobs are different than mine were. And the regional centers facing the same thing. People are coming in with other career goals and things like that, and having to learn this commitment. Learn this commitment. Because they've never had any reason to be involved, unless they had family members or just fell into it. I actually fell into the field by accident. I was working at a prison, and they wanted to not give me the keys, and I said, can't do it that way because I have to get out. So I was actually working at a prison. I really was a social worker at a prison, federal women's prison, and it just made me so nervous I had to leave. So I started out changing diapers. We had a day program that at the time, now this was 100 years ago, we didn't have anything else. We had this day program where we did a little bit of recreation, and we fed people and toileted them. It was horrible. We tied everybody on the porta potties, right there in the room. I mean, now that I think about it, I think, oh my God, I'm going to be picked up for this. But that's what we did, because that's all we knew. The system's come a really long ways. Case managers are now a different breed of people. Doesn't mean they're bad, but some of them are having to learn what you have instinctually in you being in the business. And part of your job is to help them learn. They don't have time to sit through 100 trainings, not if you really want them out there. So part of their learning process is just touching the people and hearing from you all. You have a big job here. Service coordinators and employees' primary responsibility includes preparing and implementing and monitoring consumers' individual program plan. You can tell me what that there's no. Securing and coordinating consumer services and supports and providing placement and monitoring activities. By the way, when you write legislation, part of it is how much can you get in before someone notices that there's too many words. And so what you do is you just keep writing, and then as they take the words out, you still just, you still end up with about 75% of them, and it works. Simple message, the link between the consumer and family and the services that are being purchased for them. Coordination, truly coordination. At one time they were called case managers, at one time they were called social workers. Those of you who've been around for a long time, they're called other things that I can't repeat. But the fact is that they are the linking, they are that link. I would suggest to you what we're doing now is we are defining the entitlement. I love the line in the budget that says, it's to protect the entitlement, but I would suggest to you that what we are doing is we are defining or refining, whichever word you want to use, but that's what we're in the process of doing. The problem is it's all going down in the opposite direction than where some of us are likely. We'd love to refine the entitlement and make sure that people understood that employment first was the goal of all people, or at least ought to be put forward to all people to see if they'd like to exercise that, as opposed to being sort of a last choice on the list. But they're your link. The other things they do, and what's really been very sad, just tell me to shut up now. What's been sad is that because we have refinanced the system with so much federal money, which, by the way, they wanted us to do, the government, state wanted us to do because it saves money, and now we have hundreds of millions of dollars in federal money. Along with federal money comes even more trappings than state money. Keeping records, and you all are facing it too, increments, 15-minute increments. Give me a break.
You know, I mean, I really gotta be honest with you, it's like, and at the end of the day, can you tell me if anything happened? So, I mean, I think, you know, in being accountable to the public, and I am a taxpayer, and I'm a conservative taxpayer. I'm a diehard liberal and social, but conservative taxpayer. But I still don't think spending time writing down all of that tells me anything in the end. And yet, these case managers are faced, I bet there could just be a whole team sitting in a little room just putting notches on, you know, like little pin boards or something, and then in the end, you know, have it develop some report. The problem is we're using these service coordinators who are the links to do that paperwork. It diminishes their ability to go out there, get to know you, understand what you're facing, and understand what your issues are about the people you're serving, because you know them the very best. They're spending a lot of their life with you. It diminishes their ability to do good planning, because planning means have to be rushed along, you gotta get them done, it's gotta get to this committee, go to there, blah, 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 all these things it's gotta do. So, in our zealousness to refinance ourselves, which is something we had to do to keep the system moving, we also have damaged our system. And the question in my mind right now, because I see bad budget times as the time to challenge all the structural processes at the same time. I don't see the answer as just cut. It's like, what can we do different to allow these people to do their jobs the way it's envisioned? And not spend all their time, because what worries me is that what we're going into now is now you're going to have a whole group of people just looking at those service standards and going, oh my God, we didn't fall into that word, we're going to have to do this. It's an artificial process. And I've already seen it happen more than once.